Host.
Javier Vicuna.
And on today's show, we will have a special guest, Julia, joining with us to talk about International Women's History Month. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today, Julia. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi, everyone. Good to be here. My name is Julia, and I am excited to talk with you all today.
So thank you for introducing yourself. I'm going to be asking a simple icebreaker question that we do. And my question is, what is your favorite show or movie you've currently watched or are watching right now?
I'm really addicted to Flight of the Conchords. It's a show it's two New Zealand musicians and comedians from New Zealand. And the show was created, and I want to say 2008. So it's kind of a little bit of a throwback. And I'm like falling asleep to it, every night, like that addicted, what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Is it on Netflix? Or?
It's not, recently I got access to HBO Max, big deal.
Yeah.
Not my account, it's someone else's.
Yeah. I only had HBO Max just to watch the South Park specials that were coming out on there.
I also have been dipping into that. Also, the making of South Park was fascinating. Just saw that,
Yeah. But it's too expensive. I think HBO Max is way too expensive for what it is.
I'm with you. Totally with you on that.
But yeah, as for me, I just recently watched that new Pixar movie that came out, the Turning Red. It's about the girl who turns into a red panda.
Is that what it's about? I see it in theaters right now, actually, and I've been like, oh, anything Pixar, yes. So I've been wanting to go. Okay, how was it?
I highly recommend it. I thought it was going to be not that great, just based off of the advertising they were doing for it, but I actually surprisingly enjoyed it a lot. It has that that Pixar charm to it. I think, and it's a lot more how you say, a little more I don't know the right word to say. It's just very different. It had a very different vibe from a whole lot of Pixar films that I've seen before. A lot less kid friendly, I would say that. Yeah.
Okay, that's
in a way, a lot less kid friendly. Much more geared towards adolescents and teenagers for sure. But I liked it. I thought it was a great film. Looks like we have a little on-air thing that Kimberly just received. Look at that. Wow, neon lights.
Are you sure that's on a necklace? I think that goes around.
It's this way.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah.
On the air. Just, I mean.
It says no, Ria.
Yeah, it says no, Ria, it. All right, well, big surprise there.
Yeah. Douglas just gave it to me, and I was like, what?
Hey, well, shout out to Douglas. He's the man that makes this all possible. So yeah, how about you, Kim? What you been watching?
Well, the only show I've been watching lately is the Viking Show, the new Viking Show on Netflix.
Oh, like Vikings? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. I like it.
Is there violence and sex?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard about that series, is that has all that. Yep.
Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's kind of like Game of Thrones.
Yeah, cool.
I think less sex in it.
Oh, well, then maybe I won't watch it.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So, now we're going to switch the topic. Julia, you work for Summer Search, is that correct?
I do.
Okay. Would you like to talk about your position in Summer Search?
Sure, yeah. I am what they call a mentor. I have a caseload of about 30 teenagers that I work with. And this means that I have the privilege of chatting with them every week about whatever they want to talk about, which is absolutely fascinating and fun. And I learned a lot about myself through this work.
Wow, that's awesome. Wow, so you go through a lot of students then. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah.
It sometimes it feels like a lot, and then sometimes no, feels just right.
Yeah. Well, total respect to you. I don't know how I could handle so many teenagers, I would say.
I don't. They handle me. Props to them for handling me.
So I wanted to ask, how do you help young girls to embrace things that they want to achieve or love?
Yeah, I love this question. I mean, first of all, I don't think that I really do anything. I think that they're always helping themselves. You know, I'm just like a bystander, just watching and getting to witness. So I don't do anything, but it's my encouragement for everybody on the entire planet, but specifically in this case with women, to tap into what it is they truly want, and not refer to what does everybody else want me to be, how does everybody else want me to feel. No, it's what do I want to be, how do I feel, what do I want for myself.
Okay, I like that.
I do
too. How do you think you impact these girls' lives?
Hopefully, I mean, I don't know, you'd have to talk to them. But hopefully, my hope is just to, you know, step into their own power and feel empowered. And I hope to do that through being a role model. I feel in my power. Usually, of course, I have moments where I feel disempowered because I'm human, and that's typical and okay. But really, yeah, just have conversations about what it feels like or what it is like to be empowered, and what does being empowered mean. And
Yeah, great, Julia. Well, kind of going off of what you just said about wanting girls to feel empowered, which I think is, awesome. What advice do you have for girls who, are possibly intimidated by a male-dominated career? I wanted to kind of ask you this question because recently I graduated from San Francisco State University as an audio engineer. And I made a friend there who she has been the audio. I don't know how familiar you are with audio engineering, but the audio engineering field is very male dominated right now. Like there's a lot of guys. Like it's like a sausage fest. It's a complete sausage fest at like when we're in class. But she didn't let that like keep her from pursuing her career. As a matter of fact, there are audio engineering groups made specifically for women who want to get into the field and give them opportunities that wouldn't be, given out to just any other guy out there who could just get the same, right? So I think like programs like that are great, but what I mean, just going off of that experience, it really opened up my mind. Like, wow, like this is a really male dominated career or path, and I feel like girls in general, women in general, shouldn't feel intimidated by it, but I can understand why they would feel intimidated by it. So I guess what advice would you have, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would say like do your best, just ignore it. If you're a female walking into a male dominated career, like just ignore all that, just like, this is what I want to do. I feel clear, I feel focused, I'm going for it. If there's like chatter or, any noise coming from any direction about that being impossible or there being barriers to that, just no, I'm not going to focus on that, and really just go for what you want. It's my belief, who knows what, beliefs, right? That really like what you give your attention to grows. And so if I give my attention, whatever I give my attention to, so if I give my attention to, this is hard, there are barriers, then that might grow. But if I give my attention to, hey, this is what I want, I feel clear about it, and I focus in that direction, that will grow.
Great. No, I think that's great advice. And again, my friend, she's been killing it. She's been putting herself out there. She's been making herself like, like she can do just the same as a guy, even better. Like I've seen her work. I've seen her put in work, and she's just incredible. So yeah, I mean, things like that really make me happy, especially because, again, it's just a complete sausage fest every time, like, we're at an audio engineering thing. It's just, so it's just like, we definitely do need more diversity, and also diversity in people of color as well. But
Diversity,
that's a whole
right?
other issue. But
I know, yeah. Yes and no, like, this whole like monochromatic anything kind of, you can put it in almost any field. So it's, and the basis of life is variety, so like, let's stop fighting that. Like that's yes, the principle is
yeah.
variety. So like, let's get on board.
So through your whole career path so far, because I'm sure you've gone through a couple of positions, or at least a good amount of job positions in your life, if it's okay to assume that. Uh,
44. Yep.
yeah. All right. Hey.
Yeah.
During the so when you were applying for those jobs, or when you were in those positions, did you face any hurdles because you were a woman? Like, did you ever have to face any issues related to your gender?
Hmm. So I've been dominantly an educator in some kind of education, which I would say is actually a female dominated industry,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of a problem. I think we need to have more variety. Um, Gosh, I didn't even think this is what's coming to mind. I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but I was a waitress. I was a server for years, and the barrier for me was actually a lot of sexual assumptions about me because of the position that I was in. And so that, I don't know if it was a barrier so much as just this thing that I had to encounter like
Huh.
constantly, that people assumed that they had sexual access to me because I was in that position.
Because you were a waitress. Wow. Oh,
Mhm.
wow. I have not heard of
I
that
can
before.
I can see that because in movies, or like in movies, I think a lot of waitresses are also portrayed as like sexy, and like
Yep.
they can get a tip in a sexual way type of thing. So I
Yeah.
think society also really puts it out there in a way.
Hmm.
Interesting. That's very interesting. So my dad's been a waiter for about 20 years,
Okay.
probably even longer than that, for a couple restaurants here. And he tells me all sorts of stories, right? Because he's been in the industry for so long.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, just hearing that, actually, it does make sense, because there's a lot of female waitresses that he works with that a lot of guys just kind of like either like try to touch them, or try to like give them like their number, or a very like, I only want her to take my order, like,
Yeah.
or things like that. I think that stuff's really nasty.
Yeah.
um okay, so yeah, so that makes a little more sense now. And then my dad also like has told me that there's a lot of guys who are waiters who also try to just kind of like flirt with every customer to try to sleep with them. So it kind of goes all over. But I definitely think like for females, it can become very uncomfortable quickly. Um,
Yeah, it can, because there's sort of this just like societal assumption that it's okay, and so it can be really confusing in that position, because it's like, oh, this is an agreement that society has made. Oh, great, I'm supposed to just agree with it too, and then you get in the position and you're like, whoa, 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 hold on, this doesn't feel comfortable for me. So it can be really tricky to know how to navigate that, because what you're getting from the outside versus what you're feeling on the outside can feel like they're in conflict, and it can be a super confusing thing.
yeah, no, definitely. So as a mentor, what are some common issues you've seen arise in girls trying to pursue a career, if at all?
Um, hmm. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of things that would be like gender specific,
Mm-hmm.
because I there's just so much that's like kind of across the board, which is, yeah, in order for me to do something that makes money, I need to get these kinds of grades so that I can go to this type of college, so that I can get this type of degree, da 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 da. And it's kind of a bullshit system. I'm just gonna call it out. And but a lot of people, they aren't given, a lot of our teens, they're not given options at this point, or told like, hey, actually no, you don't have to go that route. And instead they feel pressured to go this route that society is saying, no, this is the only way, when maybe academics doesn't work for their brain, and so they're like struggling to swim upstream in this system that also, like, potentially leaves them with a lot of debt. And then if they're not able to get into whatever 4-year college or blah 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 thing, then they feel like a failure. That's sort of the dominant thing that I see, is this like feeling obligated to participate in a system that doesn't necessarily fit for their learning style or who they are, who they want to be, but not really knowing what else to do and feeling really conflicted.
Yeah, no, totally. Kim, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I don't think so, but I do agree with what she's saying, that I think a lot of people are obligated. I feel also like what you're saying, they're obligated to pursue a career. I feel like a lot of women are like kind of pressured to go into, like a lot of women are into the medical field because like it's shown as a like woman, as a woman's place. And then there's also like not a lot of men who are nurses, which like, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
So,
no.
yeah.
I see that in tech too. Like I have some female students who wanted to go or want to go into tech, and it feels a little, to them, the perception is like, that's a harder industry for me to get into than like nursing, for example. So there's like this external idea, right, that like tech is for males, nursing is for females, and it's completely incorrect. So the women who want to go into more, science and tech tend to feel like they have more barriers, whether or not that's true.
Yeah. So I'm going to be moving on topics, and we're going to be talking about your thoughts on Women's History Month. And thank you for everything you've been sharing so far. And so why do you think this month is important or significant? And what does it have to impact you?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not really like a holiday person. Like Valentine's Day is a really good example. Like I don't celebrate Valentine's Day because I think there's value in tapping into love every day. And so as much as I think, yes, it's great to celebrate women this month, like let's do it every day, all the time. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, I'm very similar too. I don't really think putting like a certain day or certain month to something should make it warrant that it shouldn't be like a thing every month, right? So like Black History Month, it should be Black History Month like every month, We should be celebrating Black lives all the time. Same for women's rights, like it should be celebrated all the time. Like okay, like I get that this month is for Women's History Month, but it should always be about that and always be about whatever, So I definitely think holidays can be a little can make people just kind of be like, oh yeah, I really like that. Anyways, right? They like, they just kind of move. It makes people kind of just move on away, like only celebrate it for a month and not really think about it for more than a month. I don't know.
I understand the intention. It's to bring a highlight, something that hey, it feels like there's a lack of awareness here, so let's see if we can really highlight it for this period of time. So I understand the intention. I think it's positive, and like let's just appreciate these things all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. But
so have you been involved in any women's rights movements?
No. I'm like, oh, am I the best guest for you all? No, I'm also not really a movement person. I think there's a lot of pressure, actually, especially these days, to get involved in movements. And I think movements can be great. I think, a lot of evolution has come through movements. And I actually externally or like from afar really support a lot of movements. I do support the women's movement, frankly, and Black Lives Matter, for example. But I'm not involved directly with a women's movement. And I think it's really important with any movement to be reminded that nobody needs to be pressured to be involved in anything. And it really, there can be this sense of like, in order to be a good citizen, in order to be a good human, you need to be involved in movements. And for some people that feels right and great. I support that. And for some people it doesn't. So Yeah, I think like really listen to yourself. It always comes back to that. Listen to yourself and what feels right for you. What feels right for me is not at this point in my time to be involved in movements. I have my daily practices that feel really valuable and important to me.
Yeah, I just actually going off of that, because I'm the same, you know, like I support all these movements and I support all of them, but just to me, like personally, I don't really like going to the like actually participating in them, but that doesn't take away the fact that I do support it, you know. But there's a lot. I know a lot of people that get angry about that. They're like, no, you're not doing enough. Like you're not. You're just sitting down and just saying that yeah you support it, but what are you actually doing? And it's like, well, I'm not trying to like keep you guys from doing what you're doing. It's just not my personal thing. Like I don't go about doing that. Like, but
and it's kind of nobody's business, frankly.
exactly
Like,
too.
pay
Yeah.
attention to yourself, do what feels right, and just leave people alone and
Yeah.
let them do what feels
Exactly.
right for them.
Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I agree with you on that. Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Javier, did you want to ask another question?
Sure. So, what? I mean, I know. So for this month, and in your life, as what woman in history do you look up to?
So I've got a few. One of them's a relative, and I'll speak to her. But Frida, also Bjork.
Bjork's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, powerhouse.
Yep.
But in my family, actually, I have an aunt. Her name is Sherry, and she's a urologist. She's a surgeon, and she just did it her way. And she was one of the first urological surgeons, female urological surgeons. She wasn't trying to be a first anything. She just was, because that's what she wanted, and she focused. And so she went into a male dominated industry and was super successful. But it wasn't because she was trying to be anything unique or different. It's just what she wanted. And that's been her whole life. She didn't have children because that's not what she wanted, even though so society was saying that's what you do because you're a woman.
Wow.
She lived in all kinds of places on the planet, in places that, during her time, it was like, wait, what are you doing? You should be at home with a husband doing da 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 da. But she didn't want to do that. She did what she wanted. So she's a great role model for me, of just someone. She happens to be a woman who said, no, I'm doing this my way. And so honestly, a lot of who I am in that way of, no, I'm doing this my way, is because I've had a role model in my life doing that. I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. So here's props to Sherry.
Hey, shout out to Sherry. She sounds awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of similar in a way too, because my aunts, they all each are teachers, but they also have helped. Well, one of my aunts is a teacher, and my other is a business owner for selling like apartments, or just selling properties. And she really, both of them have achieved a lot. And like you said, they didn't go into it just because it was like, well, teaching, like you said, is mostly a female dominated field. But for the business side of things, when you think of a business, I mean, when you think business, you think like businessman, right? You don't think businesswoman. But my aunt, she knew what she wanted to do, right? Like you said, like Sherry knew what she wanted to do, and my aunt knew what she wanted to do. So they all just kind of stuck to it, and they got to where they are because they love doing what they do, right? And they didn't let just they didn't get turned off by just like a whole male dominated like industry, right? And I think that for me has been really great to just see their growth, and look up to them in that way.
Yeah, so since we're speaking on like women who inspire us, I wanted to ask you, what are some women that you think are alive today that can be influential to future generations?
So I guess I named one. York. I don't think she gets enough eyes on her. This woman, like she's outside of like human ideas. It's not just like woman idea, what society has views of women, but just society's views of humans in general. She breaks free of all of that. She's like, I'm doing it my way because this feels right. And you may listen to her music and be like, oh no, this is hard. I don't know if I can get into this. But really the essence of her is, I'm doing what feels right to me. And it never, I'm super into her music. I love it. But I've never gotten the vibe that like she's doing this because she's trying to sell me something. It really feels like this is an expression of her, and that's it, is that she's expressing herself and it's authentic.
Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more about her for people who don't know who she is?
She's an Icelandic musician. She started expressing herself musically when she was like pretty darn young. I don't know the age now, but it's like, 10, 11. And was just in bands throughout her life. And then at some point, branched off on her own and started creating her own thing, and attracts lots of different musicians and artists to work together with. And she's just like nothing else. I mean, she's got her own everything, her own look, her own sound. She loves to play with sound.
Oh yeah.
Like there's a water faucet stripping. What can we do with that? There's a new type of metal. What does banging on that metal sound like? So she really plays with sound.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like really into experimental music, and I know that a lot of experimental artists have been influenced by Bjork's music, which has led me to listen to her music, and I was just like, wow, like this is crazy. Like I like she's one of those artists where it's like I didn't know a human could do something like this, but they did. So it's really, really great that you mentioned her, because I don't think she, like you said, I don't think she gets enough credit or recognition at all.
No, she doesn't. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, go ahead.
She doesn't. What I'm realizing as you're talking, she doesn't. She's not guided by ideas or preconceived notions or barriers or like societal notions. She just like is completely outside of what anybody has said. You can or can't do this, or this does or doesn't exist. It's like totally. She starts from scratch in a way I haven't seen artists do. Yeah.
And even the way she presents herself in like interviews too, she's definitely like her own character, like she definitely brings a lot of different things to the table. So if there's one thing you do get out of today's show, is go listen to Bjork's music, go explore her, because every single one of her albums is so like different and experimental and incredible. Like you'll find something you'll like, because she's literally so diverse.
Yeah, I'm gonna go listen to her.
Yeah,
it comes straight from her soul too. I mean, it's just like comes straight out of her heart.
Exactly. Yeah, she for experimental artists, she's an absolute like legend. But yeah, any final words, Julia, before we close out the show?
I mean, just one, thank you for having me. Kimberly invited me to this, and I have no idea what this is, and sure, sounds fun. And just I can't impress upon just the planet enough that like listen to yourself. Like you've got all the answers. I think a lot of us humans have really been conditioned to lean on the external voices, our voices outside of ourselves, and stop leaning on our internal voice. So just tap into that every day, all the time, and it will never lead you wrong. It'll always lead you right.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too.
How about you, Kimberly? Did you have any final words?
As Julia was always, she has this saying that she says, like, do what feels right for you. She always tells me that whatever like you're trying to experience, if it doesn't feel right, leave it and go try something else. I like when she says that. So just do what feels right for you and chase your dreams, even if society says the opposite.
Especially if society says
Going against society is so much fun,
Yeah.
Like, going against society.
Who wants to be a robot?
Yeah, so much fun, so much fun. It's always nice to be able to really just, be yourself and show to the world that, hey, I'm not just a number. I'm not just a statistic here, right? I'm myself. I'm a whole human being who is capable of doing literally everything. So, yeah. All right. Well, that's about all the time we got for today. Thank you again, Julia, for being on the show.
So much.
My pleasure.
And we'll catch everyone next week. All right.
Take care. Nice to meet you, Javier.
All right, nice to meet you too.